On this edition of Round by Round, we discuss a story of a Filipino-American college student who died over the weekend, just last weekend, after a charity boxing match. This 20-year-old Filipino-American college student named Nathan Valencia, a student at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas, participated in a charity boxing event organized by local fraternities of UNLV. And according to news reports, the friends who attended that match said that Valencia could barely finish the fight and was wobbly and could barely stand on his own as the winners were being announced. The 20-year-old collapsed after the fight and was rushed to the hospital and eventually was pronounced dead. Okay, Ryan, here's another case of a boxing match that gone wrong for the simple reason that there was no real supervision, if I may use the term. There was no real supervision. I'm sure you've come across a lot of similar occurrences in the past. And my question now here is why does it still happen?
Well, the reason why is that we have people who were putting on this charity boxing event who have no respect for boxing. Boxing is a very dangerous sport. And whenever you put people in there in the ring who have no training, and there's no, from reports I've read, there was no medical supervision. There was, you're rolling the dice. Mm-hmm. This was a kid, and I'm going to call him a kid, even though he was an adult, rest in peace. He didn't have a boxing background. And if you put someone in there and he's having a hard time, he's wobbling, he's struggling to go the distance, where's the harm in calling the bout? Say, okay, round of a hand for both of our competitors who are, putting on a nice little exhibition for charity. They're not fighting for the championship of anything. They were there to raise a few bucks, and now a family is without their child. So shame on the organizers. If the fraternity had anything to do with organizing this event, shame on them. Boxing is not a game. Mm-hmm. And when you have people going in there who are not being supervised medically, don't have training, and the people who are organizing this thing are allowing a fight to go on instead of being responsible adults and recognizing signs of distress in someone and allowing them to continue to get punched, you're going to have these sort of tragedies.
From your knowledge, since you are based in the United States, a lot of these fraternities, of course, just like in the Philippines, are bounded by the rules of the university. How much of a liability do you think would the UNLV have in this case?
It depends on whether they acted. First of it, did it take place on university property? Was it sanctioned by? It's Kappa Sigma Fight Night, as they're calling it. So I assume, but I can't know for certain, that the fraternity had some knowledge of this. The leadership of that chapter of the fraternity that may hold them liable. But this is why there are safeguards in place when you're doing, say, an amateur fight, right? And now this may not count, even though they were clearly amateurs in the sense that they were not professionals or trained. This may not count as an amateur bout if they were not registered with USA Boxing, they didn't have like the pass book, their license, so to speak. But when you have these kinds of shows, you're supposed to be licensed. You're supposed to go through medical procedures. Even as amateurs, you have to, pass a physical. You have to do all that sort of stuff to ensure your physical ability to compete relatively safely. Because let's be honest, there's no safe way to box. And it doesn't appear that any of this happened. This young man may have entered, the ring with an injury that he didn't know about, or he just may have been pushed to his limits.
on my part, personally, I think even there might be even some sort of a liability as far as Las Vegas is concerned. For the simple reason, it is a public event. They had the public to watch. There was money involved because people were they were shelling out money for charity. So there should be a some form of a liability by the state and the university itself. As you said, yes, maybe we're not really sure if it really happened on university grounds, but still, if it was under the auspices of a charity event to help raise money, I'm sure the fraternity would have asked permission, or at the very least informed the university that they were doing something of this nature. But cutting to the chase, I mean, really, uh, for anything that involves danger, and in this case, boxing, as you've said, it's a dangerous sport. Really, the responsibility really lies on primarily making sure that the usual precautionary elements are in place. There should be really a doctor. There should be a professional referee to oversee all of this. There should be trained professionals to oversee and guide these people in what they were doing, which unfortunately has now resulted in the death of a 20-year-old, as you said. So what do you think, just to close this out, looking forward, should these things be allowed?
I think that you should never have people being punched in the head without proper supervision of people who really understand, respect the sport, who are licensed to oversee these things. To own a boxing gym in America, you have to be licensed, by USA Boxing. You have to go through certifications. You have to go through education on proper protocols if someone is injured. There are a lot of different safeguards. I don't know that any of this took place at that event, but it is a black eye to boxing because the biggest issue with boxing, the biggest danger towards boxing as an establishment, I feel, is people who don't respect or understand the sport being given any kind of authority or reign in the sport. And then these sort of things happen. It's unfortunate, but this young man, he if there were clear signs that he was hurt, he should not have been allowed to continue. And I can't help but feel that this is a tragedy that could have been averted.